Jay Leno owns a car that runs on cooking oil and smells like French fries. That's not even the weirdest one. In his massive collection sits vehicles that defy everything you think you know about automobiles. A 1909 electric car that gets better range than some modern EVs. A Bentley powered by the same engine that won World War II. And a turbine car that idles at 22,000 RPM. These machines shouldn't exist, but they do, and they're absolutely incredible. If you're as fascinated by automotive oddities as I am, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started with the weird and wonderful world of Jay Leno's garage. Jay Leno isn't your average car collector. While most wealthy enthusiasts are busy buying the latest Ferrari or Lamborghini, Leno is out there hunting down automotive archaeology, machines that represent the roads not taken in automotive history. His collection isn't just about horsepower or speed. It's about preserving the wild experiments, the brilliant failures, and the what-if moments that shaped how we think about transportation. Today, we're counting down the 5 strangest vehicles in his collection. These aren't just rare, they're downright bizarre. Each one tells a story about a time when engineers threw conventional wisdom out the window and asked, what's the craziest thing we can make that still has 4 wheels? From a car that predates Henry Ford's assembly line to a supercar that runs on vegetable oil, these machines will make you question everything you thought you knew about automobiles. So, buckle up, because we're about to take a ride through automotive history's strangest chapter. Number 5. The 1909 Baker Electric, the Tesla that time forgot. Let's start our countdown with a car that's older than your great-grandfather, but more advanced than you'd expect. The 1909 Baker Electric isn't just old, it's a glimpse into an alternate timeline where electric cars dominated the roads over a century ago. Picture this. It's 1909. The Wright brothers just figured out how to fly, and most people are still getting around on horses. But if you had serious money and lived in a big city like New York, you might have been driving around in something that looks like a Victorian living room on wheels. The Baker Electric. Jay Leno's Baker Electric is one of the most fascinating vehicles in his collection because it represents everything we think is new about electric cars, except it was built when Teddy Roosevelt was president. This thing has a range of almost 100 miles on a single charge. Let that sink in. A car from 1909 could go further on electricity than some modern electric vehicles could just a few years ago. But here's where it gets really weird. The Baker Electric has no steering wheel. Instead, it uses a tiller, like you'd find on a boat. You literally steer this car like you're sailing down the street. The whole thing looks like someone took a fancy carriage, removed the horses, and stuck an electric motor underneath. The car runs on a 78-volt battery system, and here's the kicker. Those batteries were made by Thomas Edison himself. That's right. The guy who invented the light bulb also made the batteries for this car. It's like having a piece of technology signed by Steve Jobs, except this predates the iPhone by about 98 years. What makes this car truly strange isn't just its age, it's how practical it was. Back in 1909, if you wanted to start a gasoline car, you had to hand crank it, which was dangerous, and required serious upper body strength. Women couldn't drive most gas cars because they literally weren't strong enough to start them. But the Baker Electric? You just turned a key and drove away. It was the iPhone of its era. Simple, elegant, and it just worked. The car tops out at about 22 miles per hour, which sounds slow until you realize that most roads in 1909 were dirt, and there weren't many of them. Plus, when you're sitting in what's basically a moving Victorian parlor, 22 miles per hour probably felt like warp speed. Jay Leno loves this car because it proves that electric vehicles aren't some new fad. They're actually older than gasoline cars becoming mainstream. The only reason we didn't all end up driving electric cars is that Henry Ford figured out how to mass-produce gasoline engines, and oil was cheap and plentiful. But in an alternate universe, we might all be driving descendants of the Baker Electric. The strangest part? This 115-year-old car is still more reliable than most modern vehicles. Leno says he's never done anything to it except change the transmission fluid. It starts every time, runs quietly, and has never left him stranded. Try saying that about your current car. Number 4. The Blastolene Special, when tank meets hot rod. If the Baker Electric represents automotive elegance, the Blastolene Special represents automotive insanity. This isn't just a car, it's what happens when someone asks, what if we took a World War II tank engine and built a hot rod around it? The Blastolene Special looks like it drove straight out of a Mad Max movie, and that's not an accident. This machine was built by Randy Grubb, a guy who clearly never learned the meaning of the word overkill. The car is powered by a Continental AV179 0-5B engine, the same engine that powered the M47 Patton tank during the Korean War. Let's talk numbers for a second. This engine displaces 1,790 cubic inches. To put that in perspective, a modern Dodge Challenger Hellcat has a 376 cubic inch engine, and that's considered massive. The Blastolene's engine is nearly 5 times bigger. It produces around 810 horsepower, but more importantly, it produces an absolutely ridiculous amount of torque, enough to pull a house off its foundation. The car itself looks like something a supervillain would drive. It's long, low, and menacing, with exposed exhaust pipes that shoot flames when you rev the engine. The body is hand-formed aluminum, and the whole thing weighs about 3,000 pounds, which is actually pretty light, considering it's powered by a tank engine. But here's what makes it truly strange. Despite being powered by military hardware, it's surprisingly civilized to drive. Jay Leno says it has power steering, power brakes, and even air conditioning. You can cruise down the highway in relative comfort while sitting on top of enough firepower to level a small building. The sound this thing makes is indescribable. Tank engines weren't designed to be quiet. They were designed to power 50-ton war machines across battlefields. When you start the Blastolene, it doesn't purr like a Ferrari or rumble like a muscle car. It sounds like the apocalypse is coming, and it's bringing friends. What makes this car even stranger is that it actually works as intended. This isn't some garage queen that only comes out for car shows. Leno regularly drives it on public roads, where it attracts attention like nothing else on Earth. Imagine pulling up to a red light next to this thing. You'd probably think the military was conducting exercises in your neighborhood. The Blastolene Special represents the uniquely American philosophy of, if some is good, more must be better. Why use a regular car engine when you can use a tank engine? Why build something practical when you can build something that makes people question your sanity? It's automotive excess taken to its logical extreme, and somehow it works. Number 3. The 1963 Chrysler Turbine Car, the jet age dream. Now we're getting into truly weird territory. The 1963 Chrysler Turbine Car isn't just strange, it's a glimpse into a future that never happened. This is what cars were supposed to look like in the 21st century, according to 1960s engineers who thought we'd all be living like the Jetsons by now. During the height of the jet age, when everything from toasters to buildings was designed to look like it could break the sound barrier, Chrysler decided to build a car powered by a jet engine. Not a jet-inspired engine, an actual turbine engine, like you'd find in a helicopter or small aircraft. The turbine car looks exactly like what you'd expect from the 1960s vision of the future. It's sleek, bronze-colored, and has a design that screams space age. The body was actually built by Ghia in Italy, the same company that designed concept cars for major automakers. This wasn't some backyard experiment. This was a serious attempt to revolutionize transportation. Here's where it gets really weird. The engine idles at 22,000 RPM. Your typical car engine redlines at around 6,000 to 7,000 RPM. This thing idles at 3 times that speed. When you floor it, the turbine spins up to 50,000 RPM. That's not a typo. 50,000 revolutions per minute. It's like having a miniature tornado under the hood. But the strangest part isn't the speed. It's what this car can run on. The turbine engine will burn pretty much anything combustible. Gasoline, diesel, kerosene, vegetable oil, you name it, this car will run on it. When Chrysler took it to Mexico for testing, they ran it on tequila. In France, they supposedly ran it on Chanel number 5 perfume. It's the ultimate flex fuel vehicle, decades before anyone knew what flex fuel meant. The car drives like a normal automatic transmission vehicle, but the experience is completely different. There's no vibration, no traditional engine noise, just a smooth whooshing sound as the turbine spins up. Jay Leno describes it as incredibly smooth, like riding on a magic carpet. Chrysler built 55 of these cars and actually loaned them to regular families for 90-day test periods. Imagine getting a call from Chrysler saying, "Hey, want to drive a jet car for 3 months?" Families across America got to experience the future of transportation, and most of them loved it. So why aren't we all driving turbine cars today? The answer is complicated. The cars got decent fuel economy, around 20 miles per gallon, but they were expensive to build and had some quirks. The turbine took a while to spool up, so acceleration wasn't great. They also ran extremely hot, which made them impractical in some climates. But the real killer was emissions regulations. As environmental concerns grew in the 1970s, the turbine's exhaust became a problem. Unlike piston engines, which could be modified with catalytic converters, the turbine's emissions were harder to clean up. Chrysler eventually killed the program, and in one of the most heartbreaking moments in automotive history, they destroyed 46 of the 55 cars to avoid paying import taxes on the Italian-built bodies. Only 9 survived, and Jay Leno owns one of just 2 in private hands. The turbine car represents the road not taken in automotive history. It's a reminder that the future doesn't always turn out the way we expect, and sometimes the most innovative ideas are abandoned for practical reasons. But for those lucky enough to experience it, the turbine car offers a glimpse into an alternate timeline where our highways are filled with the whisper-quiet whoosh of jet engines instead of the rumble of pistons. Number 2. The EcoJet, when supercar meets French fry oil. If you thought a turbine car from the 1960s was weird, wait until you hear about Jay Leno's EcoJet. This is what happens when you combine supercar performance with environmental consciousness and a healthy dose of why not. The result is a 650 horsepower machine that runs on cooking oil and smells like a McDonald's kitchen. The EcoJet started as a late-night conversation between Jay Leno and Ed Welburn, who was General Motors' vice president of global design at the time. Picture this: 2 car guys sitting around, probably after a few drinks, sketching ideas on cocktail napkins. Most people would wake up the next morning and throw those napkins away. Instead, Welburn took the sketches back to GM and assembled a team to build the thing. The car looks like it belongs in a science fiction movie. It's low, sleek, and aggressive, with design cues borrowed from aerospace and Formula One racing. The body is made from carbon fiber and Kevlar, materials that were cutting edge when this car was built. It has scissor doors because, as Leno puts it, the first thing you learn in supercar school is to put in goofy doors. But here's where it gets really strange. Under that futuristic body sits a Honeywell LT-101 turboshaft engine, the same type of engine used in Coast Guard helicopters. This isn't some modified car engine trying to look like a jet engine. This is actual aircraft hardware adapted for road use. The engine produces 650 horsepower and runs on biodiesel made from vegetable oil. That's right, this supercar literally runs on the same stuff they use to cook French fries. When you drive it, the exhaust smells like cooking oil, which is either awesome or nauseating depending on your perspective. The EcoJet has two fuel tanks, one for biodiesel and one for conventional jet fuel, kerosene. You start the car on kerosene because it's easier to light, then switch to biodiesel once the engine warms up. At the end of your drive, you switch back to kerosene to clean out the fuel system, because biodiesel can gum up if it sits too long. The exhaust temperature runs at 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit during normal operation and can hit 1,800 degrees at full power. The exhaust exits through two ports on the rear deck, shooting upward so you don't melt the car behind you at traffic lights. It's like driving a rocket ship that happens to have wheels. Inside, the EcoJet is packed with technology that was revolutionary for its time. It has an in-dash computer running Windows Vista, which dates this car pretty precisely, dual LCD screens for gauges and navigation, and even email capability through a WiMAX connection. Leno jokes that having email in your car is like reading while you're having sex. Technically possible, but probably not a good idea. The strangest part about the EcoJet isn't its jet engine or its French fry fuel, it's that it actually works as a daily driver. This isn't some trailer queen that only comes out for car shows. Leno regularly drives it on public roads, where it attracts attention like nothing else on Earth. The EcoJet represents the intersection of performance and environmental consciousness, wrapped up in a package that looks like it was designed by aliens. It proves that being environmentally friendly doesn't mean you have to drive something boring. Sometimes it means driving something so weird that people question your sanity. But at least you're not burning fossil fuels while you do it. Number 1. The 1930 Bentley with 27-liter Merlin engine, when luxury meets Luftwaffe. And now, for the absolute strangest car in Jay Leno's collection, a 1930 Bentley that's been fitted with a 27-liter Rolls-Royce Merlin aircraft engine. This isn't just weird. This is automotive insanity, taken to its absolute logical extreme. It's what happens when someone looks at a perfectly good luxury car and thinks, you know what this needs? The same engine that powered Spitfires during the Battle of Britain. Let's start with the numbers, because they're absolutely ridiculous. The Merlin engine displaces 27 liters. That's 1,650 cubic inches. To put that in perspective, a modern Corvette Z06 has a 6.2-liter engine, and that's considered huge. This Bentley's engine is more than 4 times bigger. It produces somewhere between 650 and 700 horsepower, but more importantly, it weighs about 6,000 pounds total, roughly the same as 2 modern SUVs. The Merlin engine is legendary in aviation history. It powered the Supermarine Spitfire and Hawker Hurricane fighters that saved Britain during World War II. It also powered the P-51 Mustang, arguably the best fighter plane of the war. This engine literally helped win World War II, and now it's sitting in a 1930s luxury car, which is either the coolest thing ever or completely insane, depending on your perspective. The car looks exactly like what you'd expect. A normal 1930s Bentley that's been stretched and modified to accommodate an engine that was never meant to go in a car. The hood is massive, the stance is aggressive, and the whole thing has an aura of barely controlled violence. It's like someone took a gentleman's club and installed a rocket engine in the basement. Driving this thing is an experience unlike anything else on Earth. The engine idles with a deep, rumbling growl that you feel in your chest. When you press the accelerator, all 27 liters wake up with a sound that can only be described as apocalyptic. It's not just loud, it's the kind of sound that makes people think the world is ending. But here's the weird part. Despite being powered by a World War II fighter plane engine, it's surprisingly civilized to drive. It has power steering and power brakes, so you're not wrestling with 6,000 pounds of British luxury and military hardware. The turning radius is roughly that of the Queen Mary, as Leno puts it, but once you're moving, it's actually quite manageable. The strangest aspect of this car isn't its size or its power, it's its history. This is the same car that appeared on Top Gear, where it raced against a BMW-powered car called Brutus around the test track. The whole segment was filled with World War II references, because you can't put a Merlin engine in anything without thinking about Spitfires and Hurricanes. Jay Leno loves this car because it represents the ultimate "because we can" project. There's no practical reason to put a fighter plane engine in a 1930s luxury car. It doesn't make the car faster, more efficient, or more comfortable. It just makes it absolutely, completely, utterly insane. And sometimes that's reason enough. The car is also a testament to British engineering from the golden age of both aviation and automotive design. The Merlin engine is a masterpiece of mechanical engineering, and the 1930 Bentley represents the pinnacle of pre-war luxury car design. Combining them creates something that shouldn't work, but somehow does. When you see this car in person, your first reaction is probably disbelief. Your second reaction is probably fear. Your third reaction, if you're anything like Jay Leno, is probably, "I need to drive this thing." It's automotive madness in its purest form, and it's absolutely magnificent. These 5 cars represent more than just Jay Leno's eccentric taste in automobiles. They're time machines, each one telling a story about a different era of automotive experimentation and innovation. From the 1909 Baker Electric's glimpse into an electric future that almost was, to the Bentley Merlin's celebration of engineering excess, each vehicle represents a road not taken in automotive history. What makes these cars truly special isn't just their rarity or their weirdness. It's what they represent. They're proof that the history of the automobile isn't a straight line from the Model T to the Tesla. It's a winding road full of brilliant experiments, spectacular failures, and what-if moments that shaped how we think about transportation. Jay Leno's collection preserves these automotive oddities not just as museum pieces, but as running, driving reminders of human ingenuity and the willingness to try something completely crazy just to see if it works. In a world where most cars are designed by committee and built to appeal to the largest possible market, these machines stand as monuments to individual vision and the courage to be different. The next time you're stuck in traffic surrounded by identical SUVs and sedans, remember that there's a garage in California where a 115-year-old electric car sits next to a supercar that runs on French fry oil, and both of them represent the endless human desire to build something better, stranger, and more wonderful than what came before. These aren't just cars, they're dreams made of metal and rubber, proof that sometimes the best way to move forward is to look back at the roads we didn't take and ask, what if we tried that again? If you enjoyed this deep dive into Jay Leno's strangest automotive treasures, you're going to love our next video, where we explore the most expensive mistakes in automotive history. Cars that cost millions to develop, but never made it to production. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. And let me know in the comments which of these 5 cars you'd most want to take for a spin. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.